uncommon for a provider to find themselves subject to a safeguarding inquiry at some point during the course of running a health and social care business, and we at Ridouts would expect that most providers would receive information of this type or requests of this type many times during the course of a year. It's important to understand it and to be ready for it. Sometimes the inquiries can be resolved and drawn to a conclusion quite quickly, but sometimes they can take a different turn and lead to particularly unpleasant circumstances which have an adverse effect on the business. For example, a so-called embargo where the local authority decides that it won't place any new patients for some strange reason, not just any patients but new patients, and that can have quite a difficult issue, and that local authority will usually be asked by other local authorities whether or not there are any issues why they should not place out of borough in a particular provider's service. And in those circumstances, this may have a very long and difficult impact on your service. We often see providers being called to a meeting with little to no information being provided, no agenda, no idea who's there, and sometimes not even any idea until they arrive in the meeting what has been uncovered, what has been said, or what they have to answer. This can be a concern, particularly if it's the first time that you as a provider know that the inquiry is taking place. It's really important that before agreeing to go to the meeting, and you must go because you want to know what is being said, but you want to see an agenda, you want to see any documents that are going to be put to you, because you want to be in a position to early and effectively to answer what is said and show that you're in charge of your business. A local authority is under a duty to carry out inquiries under Section 42 of the Care Act 2014, where it believes that an adult is experiencing or is at risk of experiencing abuse or neglect. That's an obligation to carry out inquiries, but their obligations are limited to carrying out inquiries. There are no detailed specific issues or procedures which they're entitled to develop. Generally speaking, we would always advise you to cooperate. However, this does not mean that you should just allow the safeguarding team to roll over you in any particular way that may suit them at any moment of the day. They cannot and do not have power to intrude into your business inappropriately. You should always know why they are coming. They come as visitors, and you can exclude them if they behave inappropriately. We've often seen multiple unannounced visits taking place across the course of a working day, sometimes with multiple officers coming rapidly on top of one another. These visits can be very disruptive and can inflame the situation and concern staff and service users, thus achieving the reverse result of safeguarding protection. It may also take resources away from the day-to-day care and interrupt service users' activities. This should not be allowed. You are perfectly entitled to ask local authorities to make an appointment. You are perfectly entitled to say that you should know who's coming and that you should limit the numbers to 2. Obviously they may need 2 because they will be concerned about what may be said if there is only one visitor. At Ridouts, we find that having a solicitor involved can assist the process. Local authorities' safeguarding teams very frequently try to resist this and try to exclude a solicitor from the process. At the very least, they may want to have their own solicitor present, and that's perfectly acceptable. But in our experience, solicitors working together often focus the meeting and are an assistance in resolving difficulties and misunderstanding, particularly when the meeting rushes to assume that certain facts have occurred when they may in fact be opaque at the very best. When inquiries have been going on for a long time, or there are embargoes on a home, when an embargo just meaning that the host local authority will not place for new patients there, and there's no sign that these will be lifted until the safeguarding inquiry that's open-ended is resolved. Sometimes having a solicitor on board can help. It can keep the local authority honest, and it can concentrate their minds that they need to go through the inquiry and resolve the inquiry. You should remember, and everyone should remember, that the fact that there is a safeguarding inquiry does not mean that there is any evidence at that stage of any misconduct or finding of abuse. We at Ridouts work with providers to understand their concerns, help them to draw together information and evidence to address the core issues, which should in turn enable matters to be drawn to a conclusion and the flow of residents admitted to the home to resume without that financially damaging interruption.